All right, welcome to the Seaworthy Warehouse, where we build boats and homes.
Superfly, super good, shoulda, coulda, knew I would.
We're building a floating sauna here that we're hopefully gonna have on the water in the 4 weeks. And then we have our first tiny home that we're building right here. We've taken a small trailer, we've expanded the trailer. So we're gonna build a 20-foot long tiny home that's 12 feet wide. And then this warehouse will continue to expand into building modular. So we'll take over that side here in a couple of months, and we'll be able to build about 4 units at a time, and we'll cycle between little modular homes that we can put on lots as far as cottages, and then we will be building floating saunas and floating tiny homes to put at the marina. We acquired a marina earlier this year. So this was Columbia Way West. The new name is Elevated Tides. Came across this marina and it was a pretty decent deal, needed a lot of work. Cash flows really well, but the docks are in disrepair and need to be completely replaced, most of them. We have 25 floating homes here. You know, looking at this, I'm always trying to find ways to add value. Like what can we do? Where can we put more units, more dwelling units? And we have one little tender house here on the backside. And I'm seeing this as like, why don't we have 10 more of them? So, you know, tender, all the way down. We're going to build those things out. So they're going to be like little offices. There'll be short-term rentals, little tiny homes on the water. So that's part of it. We're going to, again, expand the docks out. And then another thing I love about this is I can do short-term rentals here. So a lot of the marinas don't allow you to do short-term rentals because the HOA doesn't want you. But we are the HOA. We make the rules here. So we can do short-term rentals out of here. You're gonna be able to rent a little tiny home on the water and have access to a floating sauna. And we're just gonna load these things up. They have these up in Seattle and they absolutely kill it. They rent these things out for $1,200 for 2.5 hours. They're really cool. It's a really cool experience. And it's just such a vibe. You can buy these about $120,000, and of course I don't want to do things the easy way. I'm gonna do things the hard way, so I thought I should build one. I'm thinking I could build it for less. It's just gonna suck some years off of my life. So what we want to do is we bought an old party barge. So I bought a party barge. I wanted a frame to kind of work with. I didn't really want to start from scratch. So we ended up actually fabricating our own pontoons that we're gonna put on the side. So this thing will have 5 pontoons on it and it's gonna be really buoyant. So it's gonna hold everybody, I hope. And we'll have a really cool panoramic view. We've got big 5-foot by 5-foot windows, 3 of them. So that'll look right at Mount Hood, off into the marina. It's gonna be a cool vibe, and I just hope to have it on the water here shortly. We had to gut this thing completely all the way down. There's nothing left except for the motor still back there. So next step is take this to the marine mechanic and get him to run all of our ignition switches, our throttle, our steering lines. We need light, electrical. We got to get our fuel system set up in here. We've got our gas. So there's a bunch of stuff. So we've got this thing almost all framed up, and then we will take it down to Nelson's Marine to have them get this thing moving. All right, welcome to Elevated Tides, formerly Columbia Way West. We got a lot of work to do. This dock is tired and old and is at the end of its life. Our permits to replace the pilings actually say that it will not withstand another winter of high water. So let's check this thing out. We have a massive amount of work to do on this and rebuild. Right now, we're just kind of in this like limp mode where we're trying to make small repairs just to keep this thing safe and not, you know, not to where it's a hazard or gonna fall apart. We obviously have a lot of tenants here and we need to keep this thing occupied, but we don't want to put too much money into it right now because we're rebuilding a lot of it. So this is the main header dock. As you can see, it's, you know, these are just like, don't walk barefoot here. That would hurt. So yeah, a lot of these screws, what we have are just rotten stringers underneath. So these screws just continue to get worked out and it's just a big hazard. I mean, this is electrical line. Like, We got called out on the fire. The fire marshal doesn't like this, so. The first step is to replace all of these pilings. So if you look around, most of these marinas have steel pilings. These are old logs soaked in creosote. We went through and drilled out most of these, kind of did a test hole, and a lot of these pilings are rotten in the center. They all need to be replaced. So, and they're toxic, obviously. So these pilings need to be replaced, and we're going to move them out. As I showed you on the plans before, we're gonna push these things out into the marina slightly, so that'll give us more room on this backside to add additional slips. Yeah, here's a good look at these docks here, and just like the wood is all rotten, and most of the wood that holds this thing together is way past its life. So these docks all the way down to 500 feet of riverfront is going to be completely replaced. So they're not going to keep a damn thing on these. We're building new docks. We're going to float them in. You know, these planks, there's just so many of them that are rotten and need to be replaced. I mean, I don't know what in the hell is going on here, but I can tell you it's not good. About a month ago, we had, you know, these fingers here are essentially just floating down here, and they're secured by a long 4x8 that runs underneath this way. And the 4x8, it just the bolts that screw down to the logs just completely rotten, and it twisted out. So had to come down here and make kind of an emergency repair. But beautiful location. We've got Island Cafe right here. This place is just, if you haven't checked it out, this place is just popping in the summer. Couple-hour wait every day to get in there. I mean, here we are Monday afternoon at noon, and the place is just packed. Another thing I like about this place is it is a sailor. We have a few other boats on the inside, but it was primarily a sailor-only marina. So they only allowed sailboats here, right? So what I like about that is sailboats don't come out of the water. So in the winter, what are you gonna do with this thing? Nothing, it's gonna sit here all winter. If you have a bunch of these little, you know, wakeboard boats, and you know, everybody's bringing those out of the water, and things aren't really happening. The place is gonna go vacant right now. The place stays pretty well occupied. We're at like 95% occupancy, so it's pretty decent. The other really cool part about this is interesting that we own the mud here. So most marinas, 90% of all the marinas around here, you're leasing that from the city. So we don't have this big massive lease like all these other marinas. We have a lot more control. We don't have to pay all these fees. We don't have to renew our lease. It's just way better than what I thought. So yeah, we own this mud, so that way we own the land. It goes all the way out into the center of the slough, and so that's gonna enable us to push out just a little bit further, which is kind of cool. There's all sorts of little ideas that we can do. Obviously, the floating sauna is one of them. We've got we're going to partner with some health and wellness businesses to do morning yoga, paddleboard yoga out here. We're going to do those giant, oversized like paddleboard rentals. So there's just a lot of like, when you have access to the water, people want to be down here. So we're just going to provide things in a community where people can be. Because as you see, we have all this waterfront access to 500 feet here, and for the most part, it's just kind of sitting. Same thing with all the parking lot all the way up there. There's a lot of this. It's overlooking the marina, and it's just sometimes somebody will park there. Sometimes maybe a third of that's being used. So we have other ideas of getting some food carts down here. So we have some food carts up top that will overlook the marina. All sorts of ideas. So first step is that floating sauna. Let's get that floating sauna down here.